everyone, my name is Jessica Payne and welcome to this week's Brand Organic web series episode. I am not on my couch, and so there's not going to be any sign of lady here today. I'm actually outside at a beautiful place called Huntington Gardens here in Los Angeles, California, and I had to get out of the office today, so I thought I'd bring you with me and we could sit here and talk about a really big question I got asked last week in response to a podcast episode I recently recorded called Why Are Authentic Brands Successful? And I'll put a link to that podcast episode. In fact, I really encourage you to listen to it after this. There's a lot of free goodies in there, including downloads, so do that little tip there. So how do I know if I'm not being authentic? If you're like me, you like to see the logic behind a theory, and so today I wanted to really boil it down to three top, you can call them symptoms, I call them challenges that a brand or a business might be facing that tell them that they're not being authentic. Challenge number one, you know your brand is not being authentic when you experience a general disconnect between the business you have currently and the business you want. You might be experiencing this in terms of struggling to convey your story or struggling to connect with future clients or even shareholders. You keep having to prove who you are over and over again when really it should be very, very natural. And the reason that this comes up is quite frankly when folks are introduced to your brand by whatever means, through a mutual friend, through an event, through your website, and then they meet you, there's a general disconnect between what you say you do and how you do it. So if you are experiencing this and you can actually get insights from this from your current customers, pick your top 5 customers that you really trust and ask them, are we congruent? Do you feel like you're getting 100% of what we promise that you'll be given? Everyone loves to give an opinion. So I guarantee if you ask a trusted customer their opinion, they'll give it to you. And see maybe where you're missing a few steps, or maybe where your business has evolved. So what you used to promise that you used to do, you actually maybe even do better, but you could actually word it a little bit differently. And you'll see this show up in things like really important copy, like on a homepage of a website, or maybe even the description on your social media profile, or your about page. It's funny how we kind of build those and we forget about them when really they're quite often your customer's first introduction to yourself. So again, challenge number one is going to be if there is a general disconnect between the business you have, the business you're running, and the business you want. And checking in with your customers is really going to help you kind of identify where you might need to focus more on really revising who you are, because chances are your business has evolved. That's a good thing. So that's challenge number one. All right, challenge number two is something that you might already be experiencing. If you experience a decline in engagement, or let's say a spike in negative reviews, those are typically really easy to identify. Those are red flags. That's a clear correlation between something that you're promising is not being delivered. And when it comes to authenticity, how you are branding yourself and making that promise and delivering that promise is just as important as the product you sell, the event they attended, whatever. So you can't sort of deliver one thing and then not kind of represent who you are. So again, challenge number two, and this is pretty common, and it's okay because it's quite fixable if you actually give energy to it, is to, if you see a dip in engagement, especially on key places where authenticity can really empower you, places like social media, if people just aren't engaging anymore, or let's see negative reviews are popping up, maybe even on social or places like Yelp, you might want to check in on your brand authenticity. Are you all on the same page? Are you delivering what you're promising? Are you warm? Are you open? Because today's consumer actually demands that. Are you kind of showing up differently than you actually thought you were? So that's challenge number two. Right, so challenge number three really quickly is something that we all do. And it's basically, if you take a look at the competition and you're identical or very, very similar, then sadly you're not authentic. You may have experienced a tremendous amount of success, and you should thank yourself for it and have gratitude for the success that following great mentors and emulating leaders in your industry or your category have led to in terms of like your success so far. But it's a temporary solution because you're essentially following their strategy, and therefore over time you're going to outgrow that, and you're going to feel that distance between your purpose and your goals and your business success actually widen. So you want to bring it back and make sure it's congruent. So that's your third challenge in terms of if you're being authentic. If you look too much like the competition, then you're not authentic, despite your success. So now's the time to rejigger that. Right, so those are the 3 challenges that I recommend that you check out. Consider them sort of like symptoms, like you're checking in on your own natural health. Is your business experiencing any of these? And if so, take some steps to make sure that you are more congruent and more authentic, because that's what consumers care about. All right, everyone, thank you for watching this episode of the Brand Organics web series. I'm Jessica Payne. Thanks for sitting outside with me today. You can find out more information on that podcast episode, Why Are Brands Authentic, in the descriptor underneath here in the video. Visit jessicapayne.us. There's also a URL in the description below. Follow me on social, and I will see you soon. Remember, marketing should come as naturally to you as breathing. So if you follow these steps, you're on the right track. So have a beautiful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.